Welcome, everyone, to the NBA Triple Double Show with your host, John Ryan, that's me, and Ronald Cabang, who is, as I always like to say, number one. He's the reigning NBA champion from last year's season at SportsMemo.com, and that is no small feat. Do not underestimate that accomplishment. It's a terrific mark that he did last year, and he made over 80 units for his clients, and he's doing well this year again. Welcome to the show, Ronald. I'm going to get right into this here. We're going to start with tonight's game between Charlotte and Orlando, 7 o'clock start. The over-under in this game is 218.5 points. The live betting line here puts the Magic as a home dog of 8 points. The Orlando Magic are 4-14, 1-6 at home. They're 7-11 against the spread, and like so many teams in the NBA, they're 8-2 to the under. Conversely, the Charlotte Hornets, 11-8 record, 11-8 against the spread. They're 6-4 against the number over their last 10. 60% of the public is so far betting on Charlotte. Where do you see any opportunities in this matchup, Ronald?
Well, you said 60% of the public is on Charlotte. I kind of agree with that. Magic's going to be without Cole Anthony again, and I don't think there's anyone else on this roster that could replace what he brings to the court for the Magic. Suggs is really struggling from the field, and his assist to turnover ratio is actually not great at all. The next top scorers after Cole Anthony are Wagner and Wendell Carter, and both of these guys play off the ball, so there really isn't someone who could kind of take care of the ball and distribute the ball and score all. There's no triple threat there. Suggs isn't really that guy yet. Maybe later on, but right now he's not ready for it. And that kind of just shows in the numbers that he's putting up. The Magic struggle on both sides of the ball. They're 28th in the league in shooting percentage and ranked 27th in the league in overall offensive rating. They're dead last in steals per game on the defensive side of the ball and are ranked 28th in defensive rating. So they're bottom three in the league in both sides of the ball, basically. Offensively, I think this pace is going to be a fast game, and that's going to benefit the Hornets' style of play. The Hornets are also very, I want to say, opportunistic on the defensive side of the ball. They're fifth in the league in steals per game, and that's going to put some pressure on Suggs, and they're going to be able to get some points off turnovers there. And they're one of the better three-point shooting teams in the league as well. So, with all that said, I really can't see how the Magic is going to be able to generate any type of offense to be able to keep up with the Magic. If the Hornets can build a big lead early, this could get ugly. And I'm pretty sure that, I want to say the Hornets are going to be able to take this one by double digits on the road.
Yeah, I'm with you on this side. I just can't put good money on a bad team that's struggling. They don't seem to be getting any better and actually getting somewhat worse over the last week of games. I can add to it that the Hornets are 39-18, last 58 road games versus a team with a home winning percentage of less than 40%. And I can also provide the head-to-heads where the Hornets are 13-6 against the number the last 19 times they have played the Orlando Magic. So I think we got that one nailed down pretty good here as at least a lean.
Yeah.
Let's move on to another intriguing game here. The Heat are taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. 67% of the public right now is on the Heat, and I can see why. Minnesota actually is a 1.5 point favorite. They're 8-9 on the season, 8-9 against the spread, 5-5 last 10. Heat 12-6 and 12-6 against the number. The total for this game is 212.5. Where are you going to take us with this matchup, Ronald?
Yeah. So this one, we were kind of with the public on that Charlotte play. I'm going to be against the public on this one. I kind of like the Wolves here. I know that the number total, the number opened up -2 for the Heat, and it kind of flipped towards the Wolves. And for me, I think that has to do with possible players being out for the Heat. There were quite a few players who were game time decision yesterday for the Heat, and they're on the second of back-to-back road games, and they also have a key matchup against the Bulls next. So this is this might be a spot where they sit a few players. And the Wolves, I mean, yeah, they're 8-9, but they're on a 4-game win streak, and all 4 games have been by double digits. Yes, you look at the teams, and they haven't really beaten any top tier teams during this run. But right before this run started, they did play the Suns, and they only lost by 3. So they've been playing really well. I think that has to do with Russell. In the starting lineup. He was out for a few games, and they really looked, off. And Vanderbilt has also been put back into the starting lineup, and he's been a pretty big plus in the starting lineup as well. Kind of puts pressure off of Cat to play in the post, and he's been playing really great defense too. So I think overall here, I believe the Heat might be the better team overall, but in this spot, I just feel like this is a spot where they fall flat, and the Wolves kind of benefit from that and get the W here.
Boy, I think for the first time we've been doing shows, I'm on a bit of the other side, Ronald, respectfully stated. But you have clarified why the line is giving the Wolves a 1.5 point edge. I kind of looking at it that the Wolves have been playing hot as a losing record team and due to regress. If anything, I think you've made me neutral in the game. The Heat have been my magnet for a while here, and the Chicago Bulls too. But I will say this: the last 4 wins really haven't been quality wins, as I would say. They beat a Sacramento team that the depleted Sixers beat on Monday. San Antonio is not the San Antonio that we're accustomed to seeing. Memphis, all right, well, that's a 43-point win there. I guess I have to give that one to you. And the Pelicans, winning by 14 in their last game. So I think you've made me neutral on this game. I was set to give a good rundown on Miami, despite some players being game time decisions. But you're right; they're on back-to-back nights, and it has changed my thought process. And that's what's good about these shows, folks. That the exchange of information is powerful. And Ronald may have just kept me off of a potentially bad bet, And it's better not to make the bet than to force it and think that, oh, well, that's gonna work.
Yeah, 100%. I think in the 3 games that we're talking about today, this might be one of the hardest ones for me. But at the same time, it's one of those spots where you just feel like, the Heat are just going to fall flat. I don't know who's going to be sitting today, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be a couple guys just based off of the schedule here on the Heat side.
Yeah, and that'll be a game time decision, which makes it quite interesting and compelling for me to do my in-game live betting. And if you agree with Ronald on the Minnesota play, you may see the Heat try to get out to a quick start and maybe take the starch out of the Wolves, which would give you a great opportunity to get Minnesota at like plus 6.5 or higher. And the way I do that is 50% pre-flop with the line and then that number. And the whole point of this, Ronald, is that I 100% believe you must have a betting plan in place to do in-game. You don't use in-game for hedging or trying to play middles. You have a strategy for it, and I've done well with that strategy. So I think that's a good consideration as well. And if you like the Heat, you would do the opposite of what I just said. You would look for Minnesota to make a big run and then get Miami at 7.5 or higher.
Yeah, it could be a situation just like yesterday for the Heat, though. Like the Pistons were in the lead at halftime. Even after the end of the third, they were in the lead, and the Heat ended up winning the game. And I think they almost nearly covered too. But I think it's a situation where the Heat were kind of trying to reserve their energy. Maybe if they didn't have to play so hard yesterday, they wouldn't have to sit people today. But they ended up having to come back in the fourth in a tough game against a weak Pistons team. So, and I think I really do think some guys are going to sit today, and that's why the number moved.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. Let's move on to the third and final game. That's the this is definitely my favorite game of the day, and I do have an official bet on the first half in this game. Philadelphia taking on Golden State out in San Francisco tonight at 10 o'clock. Golden State is a double-digit 10.5-point favorite. That's not surprising, but I do think it gives an opportunity to play the Sixers on the first half. The Sixers have proved to me one incredible thing. Without Embiid, they're 2-6 the last 8 games that he has not played because of the COVID-19. But they're suddenly adjusting to his absence, and their efficiency rates on offense are much, much better than they were just 4 games ago without him. And I had them as a 4% premium bet the other night in their win over Sacramento. But to be fair, like I was saying about the Heat, Sacramento fired their coach Luke Walton on Sunday after 2 home games in which the Kings didn't even have a lead. I mean, they didn't even score the first points of the game in either game. So the Kings are, they're not going to be fixed by one guy named Alvin Gentry. Although in time, I do think he's going to have a major positive influence on him. So we can't read too much into that Sixers win. But they seem to be playing with a lot of confidence. I can't say enough good things about Maxey. He's just taken this opportunity by storm. He had 2 games over 30 points at home before this road trip embarked. And I believe he's averaging 24.5 points per game on the road trip. So, I like this first half, Ronald. And you can disagree with me and think I'm completely, off the reservation with this one. But yeah, I think the Sixers find a way to make it close.
Yeah. Do you know if Curry's going to be playing for the Sixers?
I do not know. And that could be another game time decision.
I think what we talked about last time we talked about the 76ers is, obviously I agree with you on Maxey, but what I mentioned one of the last shows was Maxey and Curry. When they play together, it seems like they kind of their rhythm is off. And obviously they won in the last game against the Kings, and Curry was not playing that day. And I think it really does affect that starting lineup when Maxey and Curry are together. They play a similar game, so that kind of just throws each other off. I think if he plays, I don't know if I could see the 76ers playing well to start off the game. Overall, full game, I have the Warriors covering. Even if the 76ers do somehow cover that first half, Warriors are a really strong second half team. And that's why I was thinking about the full game. But I would really wait to see if Curry is playing for the 76ers and if he's in the starting lineup, because they just don't mesh well, to be honest. I think if they do play, the Warriors could probably just, dominate this game from start to finish.
Yeah, and that brings up my my if-then bet. If I am right on the Sixers and they cover the first half line, I agree 100% with you that I would take maybe half of those winnings, maybe pizza money bet to half of the winnings from that first half, and bet the Golden State Warriors in game at the half. Mm-hmm. If the Sixers do well in the first half, you might be able to get the Warriors at -6.5, -7.5, which is a lot cheaper than 10.5 or 11. Mm-hmm. And who knows, it might be lower than that. But if it's not lower than 10.5, then I do not bet that in-game live bet on the Warriors. But it brings up an interesting scenario. If the one works, then you have the opportunity to take arguably the best second half scoring team and defensive team in the league. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They've made incredible adjustments at halftime, and in games that they've trailed, I mean, they've just come out of the locker room and just destroyed the opponent, and that's why they're 15-2.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like that strategy quite a bit. So I hope we're both right on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. But have you noticed some of the top tier teams kind of falling flat against some of the weaker teams in the first half, and really just I feel like they're trying to see if they can make it through without trying so hard. And then in the fourth quarter, they end up just dominating because they obviously they want the win. Have you
Yep.
noticed that, especially in the larger number games? Like the minus tens, minus 12s.
Yep, absolutely. And I think the Warriors were one of those teams in their last game. Um, who played Cleveland last night, Ronald? Help me out here.
Who played
Because they were,
the Nets?
yeah, okay, it was Brooklyn. So Brooklyn was down 12 in the third quarter and then came storming back and won. But they didn't cover, I don't believe. But they had to come
Mhm.
back from a 12-point third quarter deficit. So that's a perfect example of what you're talking about. And,
Yeah.
it's probably, a blanket statement across the board that if you have a double digit favorite like we have with the Warriors tonight, and they fail to cover that first half line or they're
Mhm.
trailing at the half, that is a golden opportunity to put some money on that favorite. You don't if it's a 4% play, it's a 4% play from the start. But if you're looking
Yeah.
at a game and you just happen to notice it, then that's maybe pizza money or two times pizza money. So if
Yeah.
you're betting $100 a game, maybe you put 25 on a situation like that. But that's a great observation, and I agree 100% with it. Yeah. So I guess that's all we have for today, Ronald, with the NBA Triple Double Show. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to share about what's going on over Sports Memo, or
Yeah, so I think the NBA has been obviously I was number one in the sports memo last season. This season I'm kind of on the in the middle of the pack. But hopefully that a big run comes and I get back on top of the leaderboard. In college basketball, I was actually on top of the leaderboard yesterday and then went 0 and 2. So I think I maybe fell maybe a couple spots, but doing really well in college basketball. So hopefully you get some guys come through and catch some plays.
and it just reminds me that if you're considering buying a subscription from either one of us or preferably both of us, the best time to buy that subscription is when we're treading water or actually on a modest losing streak.
Mhm.
I'm confident enough to say that these losing streaks don't last very long, and we do bounce back, and we bounce back sometimes really well off of
Yeah.
that stretch.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
when you and I are hot, people see it and then they get on board, and I
Yeah.
do get a little nervous that I'm going to have a little bit of a regression in the next week, and that's what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to get at least a 30-day subscription over at sportsmemo.com, because then you can ride out those bumps that
Yeah.
we occasionally find in the highway.
Yeah,
So thanks a
I
lot,
mean,
Ronald.
yeah. Well, one more thing too about that too,
Okay.
John, is last season I was actually at the bottom of the chart in the first month and a half, I think, in the NBA. So I went from the bottom all the way to the top by the end of the season. So just like you said, we bounced back strong.
Yeah. Week one, the first 2 weeks last year in football, NFL, 2-7 I was.
Mhm.
I finished number one at 65.8 against the spread. So it's not how you drive, it's how you arrive. So anyway, Ronald, thanks for your time. Enjoy it all the time. We'll be back Friday, on Black Friday, for another edition of the Triple Double. Until then, enjoy your Thanksgiving. We both wish everyone that's watching these shows the best Thanksgiving possible. And on behalf of Ronald, myself, sportsmemo.com, wagertalk.com, may all the wins be yours.